Okay, so today what we are going to do is review the distributive property. And this correlates with lesson 105, and today is the 24th. So this should be something that you feel pretty good about because this is review. The first example is going to be 3 times the quantity of 5 plus x. So remember, anytime a number is touching a parenthesis, touching means multiply. So this is saying that we are multiplying the 3 and the quantity of this, which really means I'm doing 3 times 5 plus 3 times x. And therefore, when I simplify this, I get 15 plus 3x. I'm going to, however, ask that when writing this, we write it with our term with the variable first and our constant second. So it looks like this. Always boxing our answers. Notice each step is its own line and answer boxed. Now, I didn't put an equal sign because we're not solving this, right? It's an expression. Expressions don't have equal signs, so I'm just leaving it be. So that's why you won't see equal signs lined up here. Okay, so there's that. Here's another example. I have negative parenthesis 5x plus 2. Now, one thing I have to remember is that if I have a negative in front of my parenthesis, there is an invisible number associated with that negative. And that invisible number is a -1. So this is not just a negative sign. That is actually a -1 times the quantity of 5x plus 2. So I have to remember that this is a -1 that has to be distributed into my parenthesis. So again, this would be 5x times -1 plus 2 times -1, which means that I have a -5x minus 2. Then I might have something that looks like this. -7 times the quantity of 3x minus 1. So again, I have a number touching a parenthesis. There's nothing in between the two. So that's showing me that this is multiplication. So I need to distribute this into the parenthesis. So I have -7 times 3x. And then I have plus -7 times -1. Now, if you notice here, there's a subtraction sign in my parenthesis, but when I wrote it as a plus. The reason I did that is because this negative stays with the constant. We talked about that when we were talking about combining like terms. So this negative goes with this constant. So I took it and I wrote it as a -1 here. That's why I have a plus sign there. That's really important. So simplifying, I have a -21x, and this makes a +7. Okay, another example. This example is going to show one of the things that a lot of us get stumped on, and here's my example problem. I'm not going to read it out loud because when I read it out loud, I'm going to give away kind of what we get stumped on. So I want to remind everybody that when I am doing math, I read my math going from left to right. So when I read this, this is saying the quantity of 5x minus 9 minus 7. This is not a 5x minus 9 times -7. I'm going to read it again. 5x minus 9 minus 7. So this is kind of like a little hitchhiker add-on, okay? He's hanging out behind the bus or whatever, trying to get involved of what's happening in the problem. It's important that you notice that this number 7 is not touching this parenthesis, right? There's a sign in between the two. That's a clear indication that multiplication is not happening here. Therefore, the only thing that I'm doing here is I'm recognizing that this is 5x minus 9 plus negative 7. Okay, that's what's happening here. And then I'm just combining like terms. So I have 5x, I have a negative 9, and I have a negative 7. So if I'm combining like terms, I have a negative 9 and I have a negative 7, which is going to leave me with a negative 16. So my final answer should be 5x minus 16. Okay, we need to remember though when reading from left to right that this is an add-on. He's a hitchhiker, and this is really saying plus a negative. Okay, now let's say I have a problem that looks like this. I have 4x minus 2 So both of these problems have the number on the right-hand side of my parenthesis. The difference here is that in our last example, there was a negative sign in between the number and the parenthesis. The 3 is touching the parenthesis here. So remember, touching means multiplication. So this 3 does have to get distributed in. This is not like this problem over here. Touching means multiplication. So when I read this left to right, it does say the quantity of 4x minus 2 times 3. So when I look at this, I have 4x times 3 plus negative 2 times 3. When I go to simplify this, this makes 12x and this makes negative 6. And there you have it. I am done. So there you have it. This is distributing. I know you all know how to do this, so it's just making sure that we are reading the problems correctly, moving from left to right.